There is a quiet space within you, a place where the past resides. It is often heavy there, isn't it? Like a stone held tightly in the palm, or a shadow clinging stubbornly to the edges of your awareness. This is the weight of memory, the echoes of what has been, the stories we carry, and the feelings they stir up. If you allow yourself to feel that weight right now, just breathe with it for a moment. Feel the tension in your shoulders, the subtle tightness in your chest. Don't try to push it away immediately. Simply acknowledge it. Acknowledge that this is the weight of the past pressing upon the present. Now, let us observe this feeling gently, without judgment. Think of a cloud passing across the sky. You don't grab the cloud and demand it leave. You simply watch it move across your vision. The memory is like that cloud. It enters your mind, carries its charge, and then moves on. We are not the memories. We are the awareness that notices them. When a painful memory arises, instead of immediately engaging with the drama or the sorrow attached to it, try to create a small, gentle space between yourself and that feeling. You can simply say to that memory, "Hello, I see you are here," recognizing its presence without needing to identify with its pain. This brings us to the nature of things, the profound truth of impermanence, or Anicca. Everything that exists is constantly changing. The past is not a static place. It is a flow, a stream of moments that have already dissolved into the river of time. The memory you are holding now was real, it existed in a specific moment, and now it has transformed. It is no longer the immediate reality of this breath. By understanding that everything is in flux, we begin to soften our grip on what is fixed. We recognize that clinging to the intensity of the past is like trying to hold water. It only creates resistance. This realization allows us to move toward acceptance. Acceptance is not resignation, nor is it pretending that the pain never happened. Acceptance is simply recognizing what is in this very moment. The memory exists, the feeling exists, and I am here now. When we soften our resistance, we stop fighting against the reality of the memory, which paradoxically lessens its power over us. Imagine the memory as a familiar song you used to listen to, playing softly in the distance. You don't need to shout over it. You simply allow the melody to be there, letting the sound wash over you without demanding that you change the tune or stop listening. Next, we must release the story we have built around these memories. Often, the weight is not just the event itself, but the narrative we continuously tell ourselves about it, the judgment, the regret, the self-blame. This story is a construct, woven from fear and attachment. Gently begin to unravel that narrative. See the story for what it is, an old pattern of thought, a habit of mind. You are not trapped by the events. You are merely holding onto the interpretation we have assigned to them. Allow the story to dissolve, piece by piece, like mist evaporating in the morning sun. Finally, let us rest entirely in this present space. Let the weight settle and soften, knowing that you do not need to carry it all at once. The past is a landscape behind you. The present moment is the only place where true living occurs. Feel the solidity of the ground beneath you. Rest your awareness here, anchored by the rhythm of your breath. Allow yourself to rest in this quiet, gentle space, knowing that you are safe, and that the weight of yesterday can finally be released into the deep silence of tonight. Sleep now. We begin by acknowledging the weight that settles within us when we turn our attention to the past. It is a heavy feeling, an anchor of sadness or regret, and it is natural for us to feel pulled toward it. But before we try to change the memory itself, we must first simply acknowledge the sensation of holding it. Imagine your mind as a quiet room, and the memories are objects sitting on the floor. Some are sharp, some are dull, some are heavy with sorrow. When you notice them, do not immediately judge them or try to push them away. Simply acknowledge the feeling of weight. Notice where the tension resides in your body, perhaps a tightness in the chest, a knot in the stomach. This simple act of acknowledgement is the first step toward creating space between you and the memory. Now, we move into the practice of observing this memory without attachment. When a memory arises, Try to see it not as a dramatic event or an insistent voice demanding your attention, but as a passing cloud in the sky. See it as a thought that drifts by. Allow yourself to simply witness the image, the feeling, or the sound, without hooking into it, without judging it as good or bad or right or wrong. We are not trying to erase the memory. We are simply observing the mental activity that arises when we engage with it. This observation creates a gentle distance. When you watch the memory, you create a space, a small, quiet gap between yourself and the emotional reaction it tries to provoke. This practice relies on understanding the nature of impermanence, or Anicca. Everything in the world is constantly changing. Just as the light shifts across the horizon, just as a feeling arises and then fades, so too do our memories. They are not fixed points. They are fluid experiences that arise, exist for a moment, and dissolve. When we attach ourselves to a memory, we try to freeze it in time, demanding that it remain exactly as we wish it to be, which is impossible because everything is in flux. Accepting impermanence means allowing the memory to flow, recognizing that its intensity will ebb and flow, just like any natural wave. Resistance often comes from our internal story, the narrative we have built around these memories. This is where the true work of release happens. The weight is often not in the event itself, but in the elaborate story we continuously tell ourselves about it. The self-blame, the regret, the critical judgments we layer onto the experience. This story is a construct, woven from fear and attachment, designed to keep us tethered to pain. Gently begin to unravel that narrative. See the story for what it is, an old pattern of thought, a habit of mind that has become deeply ingrained. You are not trapped by the events. You are merely holding onto the interpretation we have assigned to them. As you observe the memory without attachment, allow this soft acceptance to soften your resistance. Do not fight the feeling, do not try to analyze it immediately, and certainly do not push it away forcefully. Instead, offer a gentle pause. Allow the emotional energy to move through you, recognizing its temporary nature. When the story begins to dissolve, it does so naturally, piece by piece, like mist evaporating in the morning sun. The emotion softens, and the sharp edges of self-criticism dull. Finally, let us rest entirely in this present space. Allow the weight of yesterday to settle and soften, knowing that you do not need to carry it all at once. The past is a landscape behind you. The present moment is the only place where true living occurs. Feel the solidity of the ground beneath you. Rest your awareness here, anchored by the steady rhythm of your breath. Allow yourself to rest in this quiet, gentle space, knowing that you are safe, and that the memory can finally be released into the deep silence of tonight. Sleep now. We have found a space of soft acceptance, a gentle pause where the weight of yesterday can settle without crushing us. Now, let us explore the deeper truth that allows this release to happen. The nature of impermanence, or Anicca. Impermanence is not a harsh philosophical concept. It is simply the way reality operates. Everything in our experience, every thought, every feeling, every sensation, even the landscape of our memories, is in a constant state of becoming and passing away. Nothing stays fixed. We often treat the world as solid, immutable objects, but underneath the surface of solidity, there is only flow, ceaseless change. When we encounter a painful memory, our mind instinctively tries to hold on to it, wishing for it to stop being painful. This resistance is born from the illusion that this memory is a permanent fixture, an unchanging fact demanding our attention and our suffering. But if we look closely at that memory, we see it too. It is not a solid block of time. It is a shifting collection of feelings, images, and interpretations that arose in a specific moment and are now flowing into the present. Anicca reminds us that the story we carry about the past is just a story, a narrative woven from moments that have already dissolved. The intensity of the pain attached to the memory is also impermanent. It was sharp then, perhaps acute, but it is not meant to remain eternally sharp now. Just as mist evaporates in the morning sun, So too do intense emotional experiences soften and dissipate when they are allowed to move through us without gripping us. To truly rest your mind from the grip of the past, we must allow ourselves to see that these memories are flowing things, not anchors. They are like clouds drifting across the sky. When you observe a memory, say, a moment of deep sorrow or regret, do not engage with it as a fixed entity demanding analysis. Instead, recognize it as an experience currently unfolding. See how the feeling changes its texture over time. See how the intensity of that sadness ebbs and flows, acknowledging that the emotion itself is transient. This recognition of impermanence is the key to softening resistance. When we stop fighting the memory, when we stop trying to force it into a fixed shape or try to deny its existence, we create space for natural dissolution. Resistance is the friction created when we try to hold onto what is inherently fluid. By accepting that everything changes, we release the desperate effort to control something outside of our power. We simply allow the memory, like water flowing through your hands, to move past. Imagine yourself standing by a riverbank. You are not the river, you are the observer watching the flow. The painful memory is just one current passing by. If you try to stop the current, you exhaust yourself. But if you rest your awareness on the fact that the current is impermanent, that it will move on, you find a profound stillness within you. You realize that you are not trapped by the water. You are simply the space in which the water flows. Allow this fluidity to guide you. Do not seek to erase the memory, for that is impossible and unnecessary. Instead, allow the emotional charge to soften. Treat the story of the past as a cloud passing overhead. Notice its shape, acknowledge its presence, and then gently let it drift away into the vastness of time. Rest now in this spacious awareness. Know that you are not burdened by what was. You are anchored firmly in this moment, where everything is fluid, changing, and peaceful. Let the memories dissolve like mist, and allow your mind to rest entirely in this quiet, gentle space. Sleep now. We have observed the flow of the past, allowing the memories to move like water through our awareness. Now, let us turn our attention inward, to the space where resistance still resides, that subtle tension that tries to hold onto the memory, trying to force it into a shape we dictate. This is where the gentle work truly begins. When we look at a painful memory, our immediate instinct is often to fight it. We want to push it away, erase it, or somehow gain control over its emotional charge. This resistance is not a failure. It is simply the natural defense mechanism of the mind, trying desperately to protect itself from discomfort. It is the friction we create when we try to force something that is inherently fluid and changing to remain static. But if we continue to fight, we only add another layer of suffering. The effort to control the memory often makes it stronger, trapping it in a cycle of agitation. Instead of resistance, let us cultivate acceptance. Acceptance is not resignation, nor is it pretending that the pain never existed. It is simply recognizing what is right here, right now. This memory exists in the stream of time, and so too does the feeling attached to it within us. Imagine holding a heavy stone. If you try to lift it by sheer force, you strain your body, and the effort only leads to fatigue. But if you simply stop straining, and allow the weight to settle into your hands, something shifts. You acknowledge the weight without judging it, without trying to change its substance. Acceptance is like letting the stone rest in your hand. You feel its presence, but you do not struggle against it. This acceptance is a practice of meeting the memory with kindness. When a painful thought arises, instead of immediately recoiling or analyzing it, pause. Bring your attention gently to the sensation of that feeling in your chest or stomach. Acknowledge, silently, "Ah, there is the memory of sadness," or "there is the echo of old hurt." You are not engaging with the story itself. You are merely observing the emotional energy attached to the story. This act of gentle observation creates a space between you and the memory. It is the space where your awareness resides, calm, spacious, and untouched by the immediate turmoil of the past. We allow the memory to be present, but we refuse to let it dictate our current experience. This shift from resistance to acceptance dissolves the desperate need to control what is outside of our power. Think of a cloud passing across the sky. You cannot stop the cloud from moving. You cannot command the wind to change its direction. But you can simply watch it drift by. You acknowledge the cloud's presence, its shape, its movement, and then you allow your mind to return to the vast, clear blue space around it. This is how we treat our memories. We see them as temporary phenomena, like clouds or water currents, and we let them pass through us without clinging to them. When resistance softens, the emotional charge attached to the memory naturally begins to dissipate. The story stops demanding your energy. It ceases to be an active tormentor and becomes merely a piece of history, a landscape in the distance. You are not erasing the past. You are simply releasing its grip on your present moment. Rest now in this spacious awareness. Know that you are not defined by what has happened. You are anchored firmly in this quiet, gentle space, where everything is fluid, changing, and profoundly peaceful. Allow the memories to dissolve like mist, and let the stillness settle deep within your bones. Sleep now. We have learned how to observe our memories like clouds drifting across the sky, acknowledging their presence without clinging to them. We have allowed acceptance to soften the resistance we feel toward the past. Now we move into the deepest practice, the gentle release of the story itself. When we observe a memory, it often carries an invisible narrative, a story we tell ourselves about what happened, who we are in relation to it, and what it means for our present life. This story is not the raw event. It is the interpretation, the judgment, and the emotional weight we have layered upon it over time. It is the attachment that keeps us tethered to old pain. To release the story is not about erasing the memory from your mind, which is impossible. It is about recognizing that the painful narrative has ceased to be an active tormentor in this moment. Think of that story as a tightly woven tapestry, beautiful in its complexity, perhaps, but heavy and restrictive when we try to pull it apart with force. We do not need to tear it down, we simply need to loosen the threads. We begin by noticing where the story resides within us. Often, these stories live in the tension of the body, a tightness in the chest, a knot in the stomach, a subtle shift in posture that echoes an old feeling. Bring your awareness gently to those physical spaces. Feel the memory not as a fresh event demanding attention, but as a soft vibration residing there. Acknowledge the weight, and then consciously grant permission for that weight to soften. Use your breath as the instrument of this release. Inhale slowly, drawing in space, allowing the air to fill the tension. As you exhale, visualize the story, the narrative, the expectation, the regret, flowing out with the breath, like mist evaporating into the open air. With every slow exhale, imagine releasing the need to control that story, the need to analyze it, and the need to hold onto it for comfort or pain. This is a gentle act of letting go. You are not fighting the memory. You are simply letting go of the grip the memory has on your present moment. The past is fixed in time, but our reaction to it is fluid and changeable. By releasing the story, we choose to stop feeding the old script. We step out of the role of the victim or the relentless observer and return to the spacious awareness of the now. The space created by this release is profound. It is the quiet that settles when the demands of the past are no longer pressing upon you. This is where true freedom resides, not in escaping the history, but in choosing not to let the history dictate your immediate experience. Allow the memory to settle into its place as a memory, a landscape in the distance, while you remain firmly anchored in this quiet, gentle presence. Rest now in this spacious awareness. Know that you are not defined by what has happened. You are anchored firmly in this quiet, gentle space, where everything is fluid, changing, and profoundly peaceful. Let the story dissolve like mist, and let the stillness settle deep within your bones. Sleep now. We have found the space for release. Now let us learn how to rest within it. When we consciously soften our grip on the past, a stillness emerges. It is not an absence of thought, but a quiet presence that settles beneath the surface of our awareness. This is the present space, the gentle, open field where we now reside. But even in this spaciousness, old echoes sometimes try to intrude, reminding us of what was lost or what still hurts. We are going to observe these memories not as demands, but as passing phenomena. Imagine your mind is a vast, quiet lake. The memories are ripples, they arrive, they spread, and then they fade. When a heavy memory surfaces, instead of immediately engaging with the pain or pulling you back into the emotional current, simply notice it. Acknowledge the feeling of longing, the ache of regret, or the warmth of comfort. See it as a shape in the water, not as an instruction to follow. This is where we introduce the nature of impermanence, that profound truth known as Anicca. Everything that arises must pass. The memory itself is not fixed. It is a story woven from moments that have already dissolved. The feeling attached to it, the anxiety, the sorrow, the protective grip is also impermanent. It is a temporary pattern created by the mind reacting to the past. When you observe this reaction with gentle curiosity, you realize that the intensity of the feeling is fluid. It is not permanent. It is merely a state we are currently experiencing. The resistance we feel when trying to let go is just the mind's natural tendency to cling. It resists the emptiness we seek, clinging instead to the familiar structure of the story. To soften this resistance, we turn toward acceptance. Acceptance is not resignation. It is simply seeing things as they are right now. Right now, you are experiencing a memory, and right now, you are breathing. There is no need to judge the memory as good or bad, only to acknowledge its presence without judgment. Allow your breath to become the anchor in this moment. When the weight of the past tries to pull you away, gently draw your attention back to the subtle rhythm of the inhale and the exhale. Feel the physical space between these breaths. This gap is your sanctuary. Use that pause to offer a soft invitation. I am here now. Now we move to releasing the story itself. The pain often comes not from the event in the past, but from the continuous narrative we keep telling ourselves about it. The victim, the observer, the relentless sufferer. This is the story we choose to feed. To release the story is to stop generating new energy for that old narrative. It is the conscious decision to stop feeding the old script. You are not erasing the memory. You are simply refusing to participate in its ongoing drama. Let the details blur into a soft, indistinct landscape. The sharp edges of the pain soften, not because the event is forgotten, but because the emotional charge we attach to it dissolves. Allow the memory to settle into its place as a quiet reference point, a piece of history that informs who you are, but no longer dictates how you feel in this very moment. Finally, allow yourself to rest completely in this present space. You do not need to actively fix or control anything right now. Simply be. Feel the steady support beneath you. Know that this quiet awareness is your true home. Let the stillness seep into your body, relaxing the tension held in your shoulders, your chest, and your jaw. Rest in the gentle truth of this moment. Everything is flowing, everything is changing, and here, now you are perfectly safe. Sleep now.